I was prompted to do a video on the overturning of California's Proposition 8 by Ancient Atheist. He did a video called Prop 8 Goes Down, in which he made a really nice comparison between Judge Walker's ruling on Perry V Schwarzenegger and Judge Jones' ruling in the 2005 case Kitzmiller v. Dover. In both of these cases, a federally appointed conservative judge made an unexpected decision. Judge Vaughn Walker was appointed by then-President Ronald Reagan in 1987. He was recommended to Reagan by that administration's Attorney General, Edwin Meese. There was great opposition to his appointment to the bench from Alan Cranston, Nancy Pelosi, as well as civil rights activist organizations such as the NAACP, the National Organization for Women, the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force, and others. Those organizations managed to block Walker's confirmation twice before he was finally confirmed as a federal judge at the end of 1989. There is no doubt that Walker was perceived as one who would be a serious threat to civil rights. The reason I like the comparison between the Prop 8 decision and the Dover decision is that there really are a great number of strong parallels between the two, as in, it is not a sloppy comparison or a bad analogy. Judge John E. Jones III was a lifelong conservative Republican known to be a church-going Christian. He was appointed by George W. Bush in 2002. The plaintiffs in the Dover case were worried about the outcome in the trial specifically because of the judge who was presiding over the case. In both of these issues, the defendants were of the evangelical fundamentalist brand of Christianity, or fundies, whatever you want to call them. This is significant in where I'm going with this. In a brief rundown on both of the cases, Kitzmiller v. Dover, in response to a local Dover, Pennsylvania school board requirement that high school science teachers recite creationist propaganda to their students, teachers and parents of high school students sued the school board. In 2008, the infamous Proposition 8 came up for a vote and won with 52 to 48% majority. In 2009, two same-sex couples sued the state of California after being denied marriage licenses based on discrimination, leading to the 2010 Perry V Schwarzenegger case. In both of these cases, the ruling was that the motive of the defendants was religious, therefore they did not have a valid argument for establishing governmental policy. Judge Jones established in 2005, and I quote, "For the reasons that follow, we conclude that the religious nature of ID, intelligent design, would be readily apparent to an objective observer, adult or child. A significant aspect of the IDM, intelligent design movement, is that despite the defendant's protestations on the contrary, it describes ID as a religious argument. In that vein, the writings of the leading ID proponents reveal that the designer postulated by their argument is the God of Christianity. Accordingly, we find that the secular purposes claimed by the board amount to a pretext for the board's real purpose, which was to promote religion in the public school classroom in violation of the Establishment Clause." And it goes on. Okay, let's compare some of the findings of Judge Walker. Quote, "Marriage is a civil, not religious matter. No credible evidence supports a finding that an individual may, through conscious decision, therapeutic intervention, or any other method, change sexual orientation. The state has no interest in asking gays and lesbians to change their orientation or in reducing the number of gays and lesbians in California. Religious beliefs that gay and lesbian relationships are sinful or inferior to heterosexual relationships harms gays and lesbians. These are both cases in which the fundy fucktards attempted to subject the general population to the dictates of their stupid cult. In both cases, the judges made the responsible decision. The folks who composed the Wikipedia article on Perry V Schwarzenegger did a superb job. I recommend reading it, especially considering how young the case is. It's a great article. There is an excellent Nova episode on the Dover trial. It's called Judgment Day, Intelligent Design on Trial. It's on YouTube if you want to And if you want to laugh at a ludicrous attempt on an article on the Dover case, I recommend checking out the Conservapedia issue. Okay, what I find interesting at this point is the aftermath. The dust is well settled from the Dover case. After Jones had been accused of being a liberal activist judge in disguise, after professional fucktard Pat Robertson threatened his imaginary friend would punish the town of Dover, Pennsylvania with floods, earthquakes, etc., after Judge Jones had to hire full-time bodyguards because of death threats, after the fundies threw their tired old persecution tantrum, after the Discovery Institute launched their entire repertoire that included lies, stupidity, and that's it. And after Ben Stein made the dorkiest movie in the world, we can see some of the same things happening in the wake of Judge Walker's recent decision. There are also some differences. Yes, of course, Judge Walker has been accused of being a liberal activist judge in disguise, and a gay one to boot. He was accused of going against the will of the people in order to further the homosexual, communist, anti-God agenda or whatever. And let's look at what the old shit stain had.
The homosexuals want to destroy the church, and they want to destroy marriage. That's what it amounts to. And it doesn't matter how sacred an institution is and how important it is to society, as long as there could be a confirmation that this lifestyle is acceptable. That's what they want. Oh, man. Pray for this country.
I have not found any reports that there have been threats on Judge Walker's life yet. We shall see. I would not be hesitant to speculate that Walker is prepared for such an event. Of course, the poor, helpless little fundies are being persecuted by this decision. They are being denied their God-given right to fuck with other people's lives and force their cult on everyone else. Can you imagine the horrible suffering that these good Christians must have to endure now that the American Taliban has lost another battle? Though it may not be coming from Ben Stein and the Discovery Institute this time, you can be sure that the lies and stupidity are spouting forth like the pea soup from Linda Blair in The Exorcist. According to the inexcusably stupid people, Judge Walker's decision is going to result in denying good Christians the right to free speech. Pete Wynn, senior writer for the online newspaper CNSnews.com, quoted Joe Dallas, a Christian counselor, whatever that is, as saying, "Let me spell it out for you. If they say that telling what the Bible says about homosexuality is hate speech and cannot be allowed, we will be arrested in our pulpits. We will obey God rather than man." Okay. Then we have Jackie Alnor from the religion section of the Examiner.com, who wrote, "And every American has the right to believe that the Bible and expresses what it teaches. Every American has the right to reject the Bible as well. The overturning of Prop 8 is a setup for the majority of Americans to lose the freedom to believe in God's Word. When that happens, all freedom is lost." Yep. They really are trying to play the freedom of speech, freedom of religion card. There is also the conspiracy theory, gay agenda, paranoia crap. But all in all, it appears that the only ones who are really throwing tantrums are just the looniest of the fundy loons. The response is not really as extreme as had been expected. According to numerous sources, the primary group that spearheaded California's Proposition campaign in 2008, the National Organization for Marriage, has been getting consistently low turnouts for their rallies around the country. This is the organization that, along with the Mormon Church and other anti-gay organizations, had managed to raise millions of dollars and successfully passed Proposition 8 with a slim majority in California. So what has happened between now and less than 2 full calendars ago? One major aspect is the economy. People are more concerned with employment, getting jobs, food on the table, rather than unimportant social issues. In 2008, the fundy propaganda machine managed to convince voters that legalizing same-sex marriage would destroy the institution of marriage itself. That was their primary tactic. Since then, it has been clear that nobody has been able to come up with a rational explanation as to how same-sex marriage would have any effect on existing or future heterosexual marriages. When asked that question in the Perry V Schwarzenegger trial, defense attorney Charles Cooper answered, "I don't know." It was the only honest answer he could have provided, and though it may not seem so, it was the most beneficial answer he could have given to support his side in this issue. I say that because the only other option for him would be to engage in speculation based on nothing more than paranoid fantasy. At this point, the public has had some time to digest the specious rhetoric that was launched by the religious right to support Prop 8. Political analysis has consistently shown their arguments to be baseless. I have no doubt that there are a significant number of people who voted for Prop 8 in 2008 who would not do so if the same amendment were voted on today. People generally prefer to be on the winning team. Nam and them successfully created a campaign that made it appear as though the majority of the American public would continue to ban gay marriage and gave the illusion that the court system would continue to uphold the will of this majority. The winds have shifted in less than 2 years. In light of historical precedents, civil rights cases upheld by Supreme Courts can reasonably predict that same-sex marriage will be legalized in the United States as it has been in Canada, Norway, Portugal, Spain, Argentina, South Africa, and Sweden so far, more than that actually. This will have absolutely no effect on the fundy's right to free speech or freedom of religion any more than the national legalization of interracial marriages did 43 years ago. They can still stand up in front of their mega sheep and their mega churches, and they can still have their mega gay bashing, mega hate fests, and bleat and squeak away all fucking day just as they have always done. Nobody will be required by law to perform a marriage ceremony that they do not wish to perform. The Pope is never going to be required to get married to some other ugly old guy. I have no doubt to this day that there are plenty of racist, fundy-ordained motherfuckers who would refuse to perform a marriage ceremony for an interracial couple based on that reason alone. They still have that right, and they always will. We still have a ways to go. Once this goes through the Supreme Court and the USA takes its place among the more progressive nations of the world concerning marriage rights, the wily coyotes of the religious right will be back to Acme to figure out what device they are going to use next in order to fuck with other people's lives in matters that don't affect them and are none of their fucking business. And there is no doubt that they are good at deception. That is, actually, the only thing that they are good at. They deceived California voters in 2008. I wonder how many of those 52% will admit to voting for Prop 8 now. I wonder how many will in a couple of years from now. In 1972, Richard Nixon won the presidency with one of the biggest landslides in history. After the Watergate scandal, Nixon was impeached in 1974. It appeared that nobody voted for him in 72. And of course I could go on with this kind of example ad infinitum. People, rather than lie about it in the future, don't be deceived by liars in the present.